Superman vs. the God of War, Battle for Earth. The sky above Metropolis darkened unnaturally, churning with thick, red-tinged clouds. Lightning crackled through the heavens, and an eerie stillness settled over the city. Then, without warning, the ground trembled violently. A massive rift split the sky open, revealing a swirling vortex of fire and shadow. From its depths emerged Ares, the god of war. He towered over the city, his bronze armor glistening like molten metal, his crimson cape fluttering in the turbulent winds. A jagged, blood-stained sword hung at his side, pulsing with ancient power. His eyes, filled with the hunger of endless conflict, scanned the city with a look of cruel amusement. The people of Metropolis screamed in terror, fleeing in all directions as the war god descended. Cars skidded to a stop, windows shattered, the very air vibrated with his presence. And then, as if answering the call of war itself, Superman appeared. A red blur streaked across the sky before landing in the middle of the destruction. The ground beneath him cracked from the sheer force of his arrival. Superman's piercing blue eyes met Ares' gaze, his face a mask of resolve. "Ares," he said, his voice steady, "I don't know what you're planning, but you won't win." Ares chuckled. "Ah, Superman, the last son of Krypton, the champion of this fragile world. Tell me, how many wars have you stopped? How many battles have you fought in the name of peace?" Superman tensed. "I don't fight for war. I fight to protect people." Ares stepped forward, the ground trembling beneath his armored boots. "Foolish words. War is not something you stop. It is the natural order of existence. It is inevitable. Even your people, your great Krypton, perished because of conflict. Civilizations rise and fall, Superman. I simply ensure they fall faster." Superman clenched his fists. "Not today." Ares raised his hand, and the earth split open. From the fiery chasm, legions of ancient warriors crawled forth. Greek hoplites, Roman centurions, medieval knights, and modern soldiers. Spectral figures bound to Ares' will. Their eyes glowed with a ghostly light, their weapons shimmering with dark energy. The war god grinned. "Let's see how long your so-called peace lasts." With a mere thought, he unleashed hell. The spectral warriors charged, their battle cries merging into a deafening roar. Superman didn't hesitate. He surged forward, meeting the onslaught head-on. His heat vision carved through the first wave, reducing ghostly warriors to ash. He dodged a spear, caught a sword mid-swing, and shattered it with his bare hands. He spun in a blur, creating a shockwave that sent enemies flying. But for every warrior he felled, two more took their place. Above, Ares laughed. "You fight well, Kryptonian, but you're merely delaying the inevitable. Surrender, and I will make you my greatest general." Superman didn't answer. He rocketed skyward, then came crashing down, creating an explosion that sent dozens of enemies scattering. But even that wasn't enough. The armies of war were infinite. Superman turned his gaze toward Ares. He knew what had to be done. Go for the source. In a flash, he launched himself at the god, fist aimed straight for Ares' jaw. But the war god was ready. Ares caught Superman's punch with one hand. The force sent shockwaves rippling across the city, toppling buildings and shattering windows for miles. Ares grinned, his fingers tightening around Superman's fist like an iron vice. "You think brute strength will defeat me?" he mocked. Then, with a flick of his wrist, he hurled Superman through the air like a ragdoll. Superman crashed through a skyscraper, the structure crumbling around him as he tumbled to the streets below. Pain lanced through his body, but he forced himself to stand. Ares descended, sword in hand. "Kryptonian, you amuse me. You're strong, yes, but you fight alone. And war is never fought alone." Before Superman could react, Ares slammed his blade into the ground. A crimson shockwave spread across the city. Buildings cracked. The earth split. A black mist rose, infecting the minds of those still present. Police officers, soldiers, even ordinary citizens suddenly turned against each other. Neighbors began to fight. Friends became enemies. Chaos erupted. Superman's heart clenched as he saw what was happening. Ares' power wasn't just brute strength, it was the power of war itself. He was turning Metropolis into a battlefield. Superman blurred forward, disarming those who fought, stopping them without harming them. But the more he tried, the worse it got. The city was descending into madness. He turned to Ares, his eyes burning red. "You will not take this city." Ares smirked. "Then stop me, Kryptonian." Superman clenched his fists, knowing he had to end this fast. He had to think beyond just strength. He took a deep breath, and then, instead of attacking Ares, he attacked the sky. Superman rocketed upward, breaking through the clouds, into the cold void of space. The planet shrank beneath him. He focused his senses, his eyes scanning through layers of reality itself. And there he found it. The rift Ares had come from. If he could close it, if he could sever Ares' connection to his power, this war would end. Ares, sensing what he was doing, howled in rage. "No, you will not." But it was too late. Superman unleashed his full strength. His heat vision blasted the rift. His fists struck reality itself, forcing the breach to collapse. The sky trembled. The vortex began to implode. Ares roared as he felt his power waning. His ghostly army vanished. The madness gripping Metropolis ceased. The war god tried to leap through the rift, but Superman shot downward like a meteor, smashing Ares with everything he had. Boom! The force of the blow sent Ares spiraling into the collapsing void. He reached out, clawing at the edges of reality. And then, in a final explosion of energy, the rift sealed shut. Silence fell over the city. The red haze lifted. The people of Metropolis, dazed and confused, began to regain their senses. The war was over. Superman landed in the middle of the destruction, taking a deep breath. He looked around at the people, the city, the world he had saved once again. For a moment, he let himself feel the exhaustion, the weight of what could have been. Then he turned his gaze skyward, because he knew Ares would return, and when he did, Superman would be ready.